It's the first club review for 2019. Stay tuned and we'll show you what. Welcome back to the Mid-Golf Shop. Jim McCleary, most award certified club maker, club fitter, here where you can learn about club fitting, club reviews, and club repairs, all so your scores can go low. Now, today is the first of many club reviews, and I've had to wait a while because I needed what we call, or I call, the blow aparts. And the blow aparts give you guys a better idea what's going on inside the club so that you can understand why it does what it does, all right? Because this is from a club maker, club fitter's point of view, not a swing professional's point of view. So one of the burning questions has always been, is it like the older model? And the answer was, yeah, it's kind of like the older model. They look the same, you know, they look fairly, they're not the same, but, you know, are they the same in parameters, right? Just so happens I have an old one. There it is, right? And it's got, you know, it's got the same cool dark finish on it, and it's got the same wide sole. And the question is it the same wide sole? So here's the new one. Here's the old one. Now, at first course, you would think, well, yeah, it's a little thinner. Well, and then if you get really close to it, what it has here, if you get really close, it has where it goes out and comes back in. Where on the other one, it's just the opposite, so it might give the illusion this is bigger. Well, I put a micrometer to it. And yes, it is smaller, but by such an imperceivable amount, you wouldn't even call it like that. It's in the hundreds of inches, okay? So, is it smaller? Yes. Yes. Hold on. Yes. However, not by much. Now the shape's a little bit different, which is what's really the cool part here, and that's what's going on in this club. So we're going to put this one away. All right, so what's going on with the Big Bertha Iron? The Big Bertha Iron. Well, of course, you've still got the wide sole. You still have the very nice coating on it, and I believe that the back is definitely much cleaner than it was before. Definitely much cleaner. I like the red outline on it. I like the edges on it. I like that part there. I don't like it here, but I like it here. All right, obviously the width here is going to be something that's going to be able to bounce the person out, and that's the part we like. Also, it's the lofts are stronger, so this is going to be a distance iron. And the options start at a 4 and go all the way down into a sand wedge. Now, the cool part about this is that they're accompanied by hybrids, which will be a review later. Okay, it'll just be a review later. But it seems to be a very durable finish. I know people have had it before, have liked it. So let's see what's going on in this club. Okay, this is what I love about this. The guys from Callaway, they helped me out really well. Boink. All right. And there's what's going on in this particular club. The big story here now in this one is called the suspended energy core. The suspended energy core is this guy right here. All right, and it's a block of tungsten that runs the length of that area. See where it went from to? So it's down in this area, and it runs the length back in here of that club head. Now that club head, that tungsten right in there, I don't know if you can get really close on it, is surrounded by a piece of rubber. And then that rubber is surrounded by a piece of the microsphere stuff that was used in the Rogue. It was introduced into the Rogue. And so what does that do? Well, that lowers the center of gravity, pulls a lot of stuff down, so that when it's underneath the equator of the ball, it makes it go up in the air. Hence, you don't want it to go so high in the air so it balloons, so these lofts can get stronger and they can go out further. And that's what makes this thing work very, very well. So not only do you have this going on, but look at all this extra weight that's been pulled down. If this wasn't if this wasn't all here, this would be a giant pocket cavity type club. But what they've done is they've filled it up with a little bit more. There's a polymer in here, there's another piece of rubber in there, plus a few weights. And what that is that has a lot to do with spin control. Okay, it has a lot to do with spin control. But there's a lot going on in this iron. This isn't just some hollow back club that is, oh, well, let's make the ball go 4. This, you can tell just by, look what's going on in there. Right? There is all kind of stuff happening in this club. Now, if you look down on it, you know, it has, if you were to measure it, it would be considered a thicker top line, but in reality with this darker, it doesn't look, you know, very obtrusive, right? It actually looks pretty decent, and in comparison, it's in line with the size of this head. So it's, you know, it's a pretty good setup. And with the idea that, you know, if you're a guy looking to recreate your distance that you've had, this could be it. If you're a person that is getting started and you're just really not sure and you want the most forgiveness possible, this could be that club. All right. Again, I'm still advocating getting fit to make sure that this is going to work for you. But truthfully, I've just had two 15-year-old competitive golfers. They're high school golfers, and when we put them into these, night and day difference. So anyway, after we use the 15-year-old golfers, it's really an impressive club. So let's go measure them and make sure that we're being told, and then we're going to go to the fitting area. To the website and get the specs. So from the OEM, the spec will be over here, and the 7 iron is 37¼ inches long with a 30-degree loft angle and a 62.5-degree lie angle, and a swing weight of C8 and D1 for graphite and steel. And then what we found on this side, we found them to all be 37 3/8, so less than, well, right at 1/8 of an inch difference. We also found the swing weights to be D0 and C8, so one swing weight point could be their machine versus ours. That's not, I'm not going to fret that one too much. And then on the light was 62, so a half a degree is not too bad. However, on my standard, I found it to be closer to 64. So I'm going to have to bend that down so that it is more towards the spec. And I found, and as I'm finding, that I found them to be 29 instead of 30, so a degree. So there's 1 degree I don't get too wrapped around the axle on, but that's what I find for that. Now, the interesting part was the difference between the light and the standard was 5 grams. So you would think maybe ladies flex versus a ladies Big Bertha versus a standard Big Bertha. However, what it could be is just that if you need somebody that likes a lighter club, you could go with the light and that would be just fine in my case. With the 5 grams though, I found it that it didn't really impact the flex dramatically. The flex in the light the flex in the light was 3.5 and 5.5 respectively, steel and graphite, and then went to 3.7 and stayed at 5.5. So what did that just say? Well, it means that I knew this going in, that the KBS Max has a soft butt section, and that's why it feels soft. Okay, and what that's for is for bringing around the whole club and not just part of it. Where the actual graphite shaft is probably for somebody with a slightly more aggressive swing. But we're going to go see that in the fitting room. Here we are in the fitting room, and the fitting data is supplied by the FlightScope X3. And we're going to be able to get some really good data off of this. It's catching the spin numbers very, very well now, and we are getting some really neat readings. So I took the left-handed one. You saw it was missing in that box right in the very beginning. That was because I was already hitting it. And I took out that graphite and I took out that steel for a test run, and we're going to find out exactly how those things worked. Now, I didn't do it just once, I did it twice because, you know, it was winter time and we were knocking rust off, so you might see some improvement. So let's go take a look at what the X3 provided. All right, welcome to the data by FlightScope X3, and what we talked about earlier is that I took the Big Bertha and put the steel KBS 90 Max in it, and then I put the recoil, the new recoil, in it, and we gave them both a ride. And what you see right here in front of you is the culmination of 10 shots. 10 shots right here, and if we let them all go at the same time, there they go. Okay, not too bad. 10 shots. That one went almost 170, 177 with the 128 smash factor. Had some decent spin on it, and that's the one that the dark yellow one is the one that you see. Now, if we go back and we take a look, and let's take a look, and here's how we hit them all, right? So on the average 7 iron, remember 7 iron, went 172 on average. So you see this 169, 183, 184, 158, 184, 163. So it hovers right around that 172 area, right? And then on the average rollout is 186. So about, what is that, 14 yards? So that's not too bad as far as the getting some roll. And 177, 199, 177, 199, 213, 166 on the shot that didn't go very good. And again in the 90s. So in about the high 180s, low 190s is a good number right there. The lateral here on average was basically down the middle. What does that mean? Well, again, keep in mind this is an average. So if I had a 9 something to the right and a 9 something to the left, that's a grand total of a 0.1 to the right as an average, right? Okay, so, but there's a couple that you see that are going down the middle and they're doing pretty decent. Now, what did I do as far as how did it look when it flew? Well, let's take a look here. Alrighty, so of all there's the 10 of 10 shots right there. I'm getting some nice high flight. You know, I'm getting about 35 yards in the air on that one. If we go back, there's another one at 35. There's one on 35. There's one low 30s, right at 30. There's right at 30. Right, and the highest one right there is just above 40. So between 30 and 40 yards in the air, which is pretty good. And we're talking a 7 iron, mind you, right? And then how did it land in a circle? Well, the steel is the blue circle. So, you know, I'm inside basically around 10 yards either side. So I was hitting it pretty good down the stroke, down the middle. Like that part of it. So not all in all, not too bad. So let's go take a look at the graphite now. So the graphite here is in red. We'll just work our way backwards. All right, the graphite's in red. So if you can see, I had a couple long shots, but I also had a short shot. So right in the middle, we ought to see how this works out. So the graphite, if you look, my dispersion was much tighter. See that? Much tighter than say, there's the steel and there's the graphite. So I was hitting a little bit, you know, more in the middle with the graphite as far as getting it into the circle. Oh, I don't want to go there either. And so how did it compare? All right, 175, 191, which a lighter shaft we expect to go a little further, right? So let's see, my low being the 161 shot, which I didn't hit very good in comparison, with the high being 194, and got a pretty good tag on that one. And then the low end 165, yep, 165, and the high in the 200s. That's pretty, well, that's the reason why that one looked like it went so far is because the spin was massively low. So I would take that as out of range, but maybe the 200 mark. And then we saw, how did it compare? Well, we saw 175, 191 for the Graphite, 172, 186. Pretty much down the middle. I had a little bit better smash factor, a little bit less roll on average, since that would make that gap wider there. The vertical just maybe as about the same, horizontal about the same, everything's about the same. Coming out, flight time about the same, hitting a small fade, everything's just about the same. I just hit it a little bit better, right? Because if you look, I'm virtually a mile per hour shorter, but my quality of hit is much better, and so I am getting my carry the way I want it, right up in here. And then when it rolls out, I'm figuring about 190 would be a good number for that, no matter what I would use. Decent angle of attack, so we are looking pretty good. So as far as a decent head, I mean, it keeps you in the fairway, and there you go with that one. So take a look, make sure you get fit, and let's go back and let's do some more reviews. All right, so you saw that the Bertha provides serious distance. I mean, good night. It really gets out there. When you're hitting a 7-iron, anywhere from, you know, right at 170, and you saw where I had some high ones into the 190s. For a 7-iron, that is amazingly long. So, you know, what's this for? Now, this is the fitting side of it, right? Who would this fit? Well, somebody that's looking to regain that distance. An experienced golfer that's, you know, slowed down a little bit. Or at the very other end of the spectrum, somebody beginning trying to figure out their way. Because if you look at that sole, it's a pretty wide sole. And, you know, typically the beginner guys are what I call thumpers. They tend to get into the ground, and this sole tends to bounce them out. Now, it has a modicum of offset. I wouldn't say it's gross, but there's enough there to be very, very friendly, and so that you can get the face shut so you can help eliminate the slice. Now, what I would also tell you is that if you're still having problems bringing it around, I want you to check two things for me. I want you to check first make sure you have the right length, because sometimes distance clubs, and these are no exception, the distance clubs tend to go long, all right? Where the standard 5-iron is 38 inches, yet these are coming in at 38 and a half. So if you find yourself hitting behind the ball, then just choke down the 1/2 inch. That's what I had to do. And all of a sudden the club comes alive. And check it down through the set, because what we're seeing now, or what I'm seeing now, and this is across most companies, at the distance irons, they're very long at the tall irons, and then they get into standard at the shorter irons. So you want to get to a club guy and ask them to, you know, when you get measured for length, that's what you want these guys to be. All right. Now it has the dark finish on it, which is easy to look at address. It looks really good behind the ball. It has a pretty good sound. It's I would say a tad clicky, but you know, that's in this room where you can tell it echoes quite a bit. You get outside where you don't get that reverberation, and I believe it's going to feel just fine. Now, keep in mind, it also has the cup face technology. It has that suspended energy core that gets you up in the air, allowing for this to happen. A great distance club. I mean, this thing goes, right? And as you saw, I wasn't losing it left or right when you have the proper shaft at the proper lie angle for the proper flex for you. And certainly a playable club for sure. So, hopefully you like the review. If you have any more questions about it, just put it in the show notes below, and we'll certainly address these. and we're going to get into some more reviews that will complete this club set. That's the important part. We're going to get something that's going to complete this club set, and that's going to be very, very interesting. So again, hopefully you liked it, and let's see your scores go low.